Round 11 of the 2021 Formula One season comes to Austin, Texas for the US Grand Prix, and is a highly anticipated race weekend for the home favorites Haas Chevrolet. Both drivers were in good spirits with brand new updates coming to the car that appear to have been strategically planned to be introduced at this circuit to try and give the American outfit a good shot at bringing home a win in front of an adoring crowd. But Ferrari and Red Bull might have different ideas. Following a tale of two halves for the prancing horses, they hope Giovinazzi can get back into the groove of things in what is a crucial part of the season for both the Drivers' and Constructors' Championships. Meanwhile, Red Bull aim to keep the pressure on the Italians, with Gasly showing no signs of letting up his recent great form. In contrast, Audi just can't seem to find any consistent results, with their biggest enemies appearing to be themselves on many occasions. Both Sainz and Verstappen are said to be receiving engine updates for this race weekend, however, so once again Audi remain hopeful they can challenge at the front. Jaguar will have their hands full, with the car appearing not to be performing too well in the traction-heavy Sector 3, and tire wear still being a major issue that they and the entire grid will have to deal with in the race. And finally, after another flurry of points in Monaco, Renault are ready for more as they bring major updates themselves to try and mix it up with Mercedes, a team who are still patiently waiting for a breakthrough update to reinvigorate their championship. And so, after a qualifying that resulted in the top four separated by less than a tenth of a second, your pole sitter for the 2021 US Grand Prix is Pascal Wehrlein, driving for the hometown heroes with the Chevy in the back, pipping Antonio Giovinazzi, who looks to rekindle his championship after slipping to fourth in the standings. Starting just behind him, however, will be the other Haas of aarava, currently second in the championship, but he'll be starting alongside his nearest rival, Charles Leclerc, making it all Haas and all Ferrari on the first two rows. Third row of the grid was the best Audi could hope for in Austin, with both cars about 3/10 off the pole time, although Verstappen was only a few thousandths quicker than Sainz. Row 4 is all Red Bull, with Gasly just a few thousandths off the Audis in qualifying, and Hülkenberg just a few more thousandths adrift, just 12 thousandths of a second separating 5th through 8th. Shockingly, also involved in this battle will be the McLaren of Daniel Ricciardo, who managed to monster his McLaren ahead of the Mercedes of Sebastian Vettel, much to the delight of Eric Boullier. Starting just outside of the top 10 is a disappointed Stoffel Van Dorn as the lead Jaguar from P11. He's joined by podium sitter Jack Aitken in the Renault on row 6. Mick Schumacher starts way down in P13, nearly 2/10 off his teammate, but well clear of the other Renault of Valtteri Bottas, who was over 8/10 off pole. The Monster Rehab seemed to struggle over one lap at Circuit of the Americas, with Sophia Flörsch only able to manage P15, but at least she did get the better of Ocon, who was almost 4/10 slower than Van Dorn. Meanwhile, Lando Norris is now making a habit of not starting on the back row of the grid as he squeezes ahead of the lead BMW Williams of Sergio Perez, but it's not a big gap down to George Russell and Antonio Fuoco, who will start from the last row of the grid for the 2021 US Grand Prix.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Aarava here, and welcome back to my F1 MyDriver Career Mode, episode number 11 today for Season 7 at the US Grand Prix. If you did miss the last one, episode number 10, uploaded 1 week ago last Friday at the Monaco Grand Prix under the night sky, then be sure to go check that one out before you continue to watch the rest of this video. Obviously, Monaco at night, quite a spectacle indeed, and definitely a very good episode with a lot of action there around Monaco. But here we are then at the US Grand Prix, and going into this one following the last episode, we've got Pierre Gasly leading the championship at the moment by 4 points to myself in second place. Me and him at the moment looking to get away from that main pack that's spearheaded by Charles Leclerc now after his win at the Monaco Grand Prix, followed by Giovinazzi and Carlos Sainz. But in contrast to that, the Constructors' Championship is uber tight between all the top teams, and really also a lot of the midfield there. You can see all the way down to P5. The top 5 there, the Constructors, all so close together, and then you've got a separate battle with the likes of Renault and BMW still trying to fight each other. You've got inter-little battles in that top 5. Ourselves at Haas with Audi, and then obviously Red Bull trying to catch Ferrari if they can, and then Jaguar somewhere in the middle, kind of in no man's land almost. But here at USA, it's been a great qualifying for the team. Obviously, my teammate Pascal Wehrlein on pole position, so the car is hopefully looking good, but tyre wear is going to be a major factor around here. So let's just see how things pan out after 28 laps around Cotas. Let's get into it then without further ado. As we go to 5 red lights for round number 11 of F1 MyDriver Season 7 at the USA Grand Prix. 5 red lights are out and we're underway. It's a fantastic start there for Antonio Giovinazzi on the left-hand side, and Wehrlein off pole position down to second place. Could be maybe maybe try and nab second if we're lucky into turn 1. Hit the apex over the curbing. Verline on the outside there. He's going to squeeze us a little bit to the right, to the left-hand side. And looks like for now he's going to put up a fight. And it's going to be a case of who's going to breathe first. And it looks like Verline's just going to get it. We back out there as that could have ended up in a crash. Yellow flags behind us. You can see 3 cars going a little bit slower in the background there as we go through the first sector in the S section. But at the moment it's Antonio Giovinazzi that leads the way from Pascal Verline, myself. And then you've got Max Verstappen in the first Audi following behind, and he might even overtake us here. Of course, the Audis with a tiny little upgrade to their engines, and it looks like that's working out for them at the moment as Verstappen's able to clear us, but we're going to try and dive it back down the inside of him there as he gets to the racing line. He's locked up though in the front left tire, so that's going to maybe open up some space to make a move around the outside to get the place back. Ultimately though, Verstappen able to defend, places his car correctly there, and there's not much traction to get around that outside to make that move. So we're down to P4 then. We've got our rival Pierre Gasly right behind us in P5, so I'm hoping I can get a move on and re-overtake Verstappen if we can. Obviously a little bit of an advantage in sector 1. You can see there just through that right-hander, Verstappen kicked out of the tail, the rear end there, just couldn't get the power down compared to myself. So the Audi definitely a bit down on downforce, but the power that is there, and he's locked up into the hairpin, and we're going to make a little cheeky move to the inside. It's kind of half worked out. We're side by side with him, but it's not being completely cleared there. We're up into Rich Mix, but now here comes Gasly with that Chevrolet power in the back of the Red Bull car, working well ever since it came in this season. And now we go 3-4 wide as Carlos Sainz comes out of nowhere. It's 4 wide, 2 Audis on either side, myself and Gasly in the middle, and somehow we've just come out of that unscathed, and we're in front of the 2 Audis as we've got Verstappen now going side by side with Gasly, and looks like the Dutchman is going to defend that position quite successfully. So instead of gaining 2 places, Gasly has lost 1 there effectively on track, and now finds himself behind both the Audi cars. Meanwhile, his teammate Nico Hulkenberg, as we move on to look at him into lap 3 through the last corner there, he's going to try and catch up to Charles Leclerc, who's had a really horrendous start to this Grand Prix. Once again, it looks like the Ferrari guys have this issue where at least one of their cars has some sort of issue and is going slower than usual, and he's just falling behind. The man who won the Monaco Grand Prix last race has just been overtaken there by Hulkenberg and is now under pressure from Stoffel Van Dorn, the first of the 2 Jaguar cars. Obviously, Jaguars are both a little bit slower than they wanted to be in qualifying. We'll see if they can make anything work on the strategy today in the race, but I'm sure they'll be able to maybe pounce on Leclerc with issues ongoing there as we move back to our POV now on lap 4. And there you go, once again, Sainz just passes with DRS wide open. That Audi power just so overpowered now at the moment with those fresh upgrades there, and really working well. It's just a case of if they can keep this pace up, and you know, if they can keep it through the corners. Of course, we've just seen that we were able to catch back up to Verstappen, but I kind of made it a bit easy for Sainz there, I'll be honest, because my thinking is here, because they're so good on the straights, maybe I can use Sainz as a bit of a toe effectively down the straights to yank me towards Verline and Giovinazzi, because in qualifying obviously Verline beat me, and generally Cota's not been a strong circuit for me in the past, so I'm thinking maybe I can use Sainz as a bit of an aid to help me catch back up to my teammate Pascal Verline. Now meanwhile, we have a look at a fight here. I saw Van Dorn trying to fight Jack Aitken. Aitken at the moment doing a great job to defend from the Jaguar car. Both of those guys I think overtook Leclerc already, so yeah, doing really well there, the young Korean Brit in the Renault. Obviously Renault wanted to do far more this race, coming with major upgrades to maybe try and pounce on the likes of Mercedes, but also I guess it could include the Jaguar cars as well. Meanwhile, we're now trying to fight Carlos Sainz. The Spaniard locked up on the previous corner, so maybe opens up the door for us to make him move around the outside. Might try and feed it around to the other side of the circuit if we can. We are going to try and do that, but then he blocks it off, so we go back to the inside then. So we went left to right to left, and eventually we're there on the left hand side of the circuit, although he's pushing us a little bit and we're off track actually, and Sainz getting the elbows out, but we're going to stick in it there, tiny bit on the curbing, and we're going to go right past him. And that is an amazing little move there on the left hand side of Carlos Sainz. Inches of space left between my side pod and his, and we're up the order now. We'll go on to defend if we can on lap 6. Meanwhile, Pierre Gasly then trying to make anything work on Max Verstappen there. A little bit of a dive and some contact with Max Verstappen. There's a tyre smoke flailing about, and Gasly's effectively barged his way past the Dutchman there, and he's up the order. So I guess FIA aren't going to talk about that because we haven't heard anything about that, but a little bit of a questionable move there from Pierre. But anyway, we move on now to lap 6 at the end of it, and we're coming in for our first pit stop. A little bit early maybe you would think, but we are going aggressive on this strategy today. Calculations before the race suggested the 3 stop might be about 5 seconds slower than the 2 stop, but I'm reckoning that we could maybe catch that 5 seconds up ahead of the guys that tried the 2-stop, or it could be a case of we convert this to a 2-stop, because I think maybe some might try an audacious 1-stop here, because that has been the case before, you know, with the new tyre wear for 2021 this year in F1 MyDriver. You know, some teams have opted to try that, you know, very, very alternative strategy and have made it work before. A la the Red Bull car, speaking of them, we're now riding on board and looking back behind from Pierre Gasly from his car, and you can see Verstappen now trying to get it back here, and Verstappen might get this a little bit frosty as there's a lock up from Pierre, and Verstappen around the outside to the inside, a little bit of wheel bang, and he pushes Gasly off circuit effectively. So Verstappen getting the helmets out once again in that second time round on the right hander, and obviously a little bit of no love lost there between those two drivers at the moment. So, you know, punch for punch, if you will, for the two moves they made on each other previously there. As we move back to our POV now, so as those two scrap away further down the road, as they have to make a pit stop, we're now trying to get through some traffic here, but obviously we're on fresh ultra soft tyres. But look at this, actually, against George Russell, the Mercedes engine in the back of this Monster Rehab car, not too bad there. So it looks like that team are definitely running a little bit lower drag than I am, for sure. Obviously I can afford to run higher downforce due to the good nature of the Chevrolet engine, kind of a luxury I've never been used to before too much in my MyDriver career mode, in terms of I've never really had a great engine before as much as the Chevrolet one has been. So we can run a little bit higher downforce, but I guess that's a bit too much against the likes of Monster Rehab, which are really trying to just go for all straight line speed and nothing but. We go down the inside though of the first of the two BMW Williams cars. Sergio Perez being hit with a waft of dirty air through that double right-hander there, and just kind of effectively gives over the position. Now we try and make a very cheeky move around the outside of Antonio Fuoco, and we're up the order. Meanwhile, further up the road into turn 1 goes Antonio Giovinazzi after making his first pit stop, and now he's onto a set of ultra soft tyres as well. So that would suggest Antonio is also at least trying a 2-stop, because the 2-stop would probably be 2 sets of ultras and then 1 super soft. The 3-stop would just be an extra set of ultras, and then the 1-stop would potentially be using the soft tyres, which isn't an amazing race tyre. In practice, it was very, very poor on the long run. So we'll see if any teams try that. If they do, that's going to be quite a gamble, but I guess it's maybe worth it due to the amount of traffic here at Kota, at least that I'm finding at the moment. You can see we're tucked up behind Charles Leclerc, who's now going to come in for his first pit stop. So it just shows you that, at least in Leclerc's Ferrari, definitely we've got the pace over him, as we've already gained that, you know, effective maybe extra pit stop on him there. But yeah, commiserations to Charles. Looks like he's going to have a very tough race ahead of him, because that Ferrari doesn't look to be getting any better compared to what he had at Monaco. Now we try and go around the outside then of Esteban Ocon, the man who took our seat in the Jaguar car once we left it after the Hungarian Grand Prix, and we're up into P9 now, and we've got some clean air now to work with. Meanwhile, with some of the cars that are on their first set of tyres at the moment, it's Carlos Sainz there, Verstappen behind him, and then you got Gasly moving about in the brake zone trying to make anything work around the outside. He's going to go, actually, he's found some room somehow, and he's on the inside. The hand of anger went up in the cockpit of Max Verstappen, but these two are really getting quite frosty here at USA. There's more contact there, and I think Gasly's got that. Yes, he has. And so those two swapping positions left, right, and centre, back and forth, back and forth. Great stuff to watch, and great for us also, because if those two fight, and you know all those guys are fighting, their tyres are starting to wear out obviously at the same time, so that just means we can catch up further. You can see a very easy move on Bottas, and so although we might end up making one more pit stop, you can see the amount of pace I have compared to these guys now. When you you know, have the new tyre versus the older one, we set the fast lap of the Grand Prix, and so right now I'm feeling very confident about our strategy here, and we've jumped a lot of people. We've even jumped my teammate Pascal Wehrlein there. You saw on the top left his name popped up there, so we have jumped our teammate. It's just about now we can extend the gap we've got to him now behind us, and we can squeeze in that extra pit stop, or we convert this to a 2-stop. That is still possible, maybe. I'm gonna have to do some brilliant work on the tyre wear in terms of kind of tiptoeing around, but that may be a possibility. Meanwhile, though, on lap 13, we've got an engine failure for Sebastian Vettel in the monster Mercedes car, and he's parked up there on the right-hand side. That's going to bring out the virtual safety car there. I'm going to take this opportunity now to actually probably pit in for a second pit stop. Now you can see Wehrlein on the soft tyres, so he's opted to try and go long and potentially try a very audacious 1-stop. So we're going to come in and strap on a set of super soft tyres. It's a little bit earlier than maybe we would have wanted for the 2-stop. You know, a normal 2-stop would have been around, you're talking lap 18-ish, so 4 laps early, but it will mean we can get a good undercut. The undercut clearly worked on the first pit stop there with the first to second set of ultra soft tyres. So he's hoping the undercut can work again, and then it will be a case of maybe defending, or we go and convert it back to a 3-stop. That's what I'm saying. It's at the moment it's very, very open and up in the air in terms of what this race is going to be. And at the moment, I can't quite see how this is all going to pan out, but I guess that makes it quite exciting in terms of it doesn't look like it's settling at the moment. The dust isn't settling in this race, but at the moment it's Giovinazzi in the lead then on ultra-soft tyres, then Pascal Wehrlein second. Third place is Stoffel Van Dorn on ultra-soft tyres, so Van Dorn and Gio both put on ultra-soft tyres. Gio's now going to come in on lap 16, so he as well is coming a little bit earlier than the default two-stop would probably predict, and as well as that, Stoffel Van Dorn's going to be in. So us three are the only guys at the moment on this strategy. You got Wehrlein on soft tyres. I think both Audis are on soft tyres. Both Red Bulls definitely are on soft tyres. So a lot of people are trying the soft tyre strategy, which is really baffling to me because the practice did really show soft tyres weren't the way to go, but I guess they're going for that gamble of trying to go one less stop here as Gio just comes out ahead of us. Then we can see we've already gained that time. I wasn't this close to Giovinazzi before the pit stops were made, so I've gained a lot of time there on the undercut, going 2 laps earlier than him, and so we're right up his chuff, going through the S section. Can't make a move here, I don't think, but we'll try our best, but we're going to be probably hit with a bit of dirty air, and it's just going to be a bit too narrow for us to try. Yeah, I tried a little look to the inside there. I was so tempted to lunge it there, but it just would have been a bit too fine, so we're just going to have to wait there. But you can see the two Red Bull cars up ahead aren't exactly getting away from us at the moment, so feeling good about where we are in this race compared to GASLY, especially our main rival, over halfway gone in this race. But as we tried to make a move around the outside there, we were just kind of peaking on the right hand side, and that's a very odd incident. Giovinazzi locking up on the right tyre. Obviously he's just come out of the pit lane, so maybe his tyre is a little bit cold, but that was a bit of an odd one. I was just kind of maybe looking a little bit around the outside. I didn't actually think I was going to make the move on the outside, but he just kind of went on and wide with the lock up there and just made contact with us. But it doesn't really matter too much because we've got the DRS open and we've gone down his inside there at the end of the back straight, although he will put up a fight in the brake zone. He's going to be the inside here, and we haven't made it work around the outside here so far in this race. We have to cut back a little bit and maybe make a little bit of a Fernando Alonso-esque dive down the inside here. No, it's not going to work out as we hit a bit of a tank slapper on the exit. So for now, just going to have to be a little bit patient with Gio, and we're going to have to maybe wait until the next lap. We'll have DRS, of course, as we go onto the main straight here. But yeah, with 11 laps to go now, Gasly's just up the road. So in terms of, what I really only care about at this stage, 4 races to go in this championship, I'm looking really only with tunnel vision at where Gasly is in comparison to me, and if we're going to be overtaking, if we're going to be beating, because obviously we've got a 4-point deficit. So at the moment, you would say we're looking very, very good to hopefully go up to him and overtake him. Actually, at the moment, it looks like Hulkenberg's the one just ahead of us there. Gasly's managed to overtake Hulkenberg, but we've just overtaken Gio then down the inside very easily into turn 1. So let's try now get on the way and try and chase down that Frenchman who at the moment is defending from Nico Hulkenberg as the two Red Bulls now go side by side. Hulkenberg on the right hand side, Gasly on the inside there. They tangle, a little bit of contact made between those two, both of them on the soft tyres. So let's see if they're going to fight so hard that their tyres go off even more. And with 10 laps to go at the moment, they have swapped position. So Hulkenberg now is back ahead, it looks like, and Gasly is the one now back down the order into P5. But now as I say that, onto the next lap, lap 19, they're going to swap back again. And so Gasly is ahead into P4, Hulkenberg down to P5. Can we try and make anything work? We're a little bit hesitant to make anything work on the outside there, so I broke a little bit early. Just want to suss out where on earth Hulkenberg's going with this. And so into sector 3, we're just tentatively moving around, trying to maybe set up a move. I can see a pocket of space here down the inside. We're going to go for it there, although on the exit, Hulkenberg's got a good enough one, so we have to try and make this work on the outside, just like we did with Carlos Sainz right around the outside. We revved out the hell of 5th and 6th gear there, but we've made it work, and that's a really another satisfying move and that double right-hander. And now we can try and attack Pierre Gasly, and that's exactly what we're doing on lap 20 now on the inside. Oh, it's close. It's close. Well, Gasly having the better momentum on the right-hand side. He might come back at us to try and re-overtake us here. So this is slowly building up into what could be a great little scrap between two championship rivals here, building up since 2018. Blew up in 2018, and it's back here now in 2021, and it's so close between us two. We bang tyres, and Gasly just has it there, but we tried our best to feed her on the outside of that left-hander, and I almost made it work. There was inches of space to work with, and Pierre was really squeezing me to the outside curbing there, and just couldn't make it on the traction as we entered the double right-hander. So unlike the move on Hulkenberg, that wasn't so simple on this Red Bull car. But now as we move on to lap 21 in the slipstream there, DRS wide open, really nice nose camera there for a split second, but now back on board, and we'll go around the outside. He's going to still be there. He's going to force us wide somewhat, and onto the curbing. We just can't get the power down there. You can just kind of hear the wheels spinning a little bit, and we just couldn't get the traction we needed. And so Gasly stays ahead in sector 1. It's tricky to really overtake here in the S section, where we might make it work as he's a little bit slow on the apex there. So the tyre wear maybe kicking in for the Frenchman on the soft tyres. The lock up there on the left hand side, and Gasly's able to keep it it through, but I think we'll just get this over the crest. We'll squeeze him out as we go to the racing line, and we've got that. We're up into P4, but he's still got his nose in there. Somehow on the inside, he's somehow found a little bit more speed to just keep an inch of his nose there. Now he's dived it to the inside of the hairpin. We've cut back to straighten up the car faster to maybe get a bit of a better tow down this main straight, and it's working because despite us not having DRS on him to overtake, we've got the rich mix flowing, and we're in the slipstream, and we are going to try and make a move here on the right hand side as GASLY goes defensive to the middle of the circuit. Meanwhile, the same battle's happening between Van Dorn and Giovinazzi. We're trying to thread this car through like a fine needle. GASLY a little bit off circuit. Van Dorn has overtaken Giovinazzi. We're on the inside, but GASLY's going to come back there. He's going to, he shoved us off track. GASLY's cut across us, and we're in the gravel, and we're down to P9 now. We've lost a few positions, and now we're looking at the back of Max Verstappen on this tail end, and GASLY forced us off circuit. He cut across us, swiped across us, and now we've got it all to do down the inside of Verstappen, struggling with these soft tyres. We've got our own problems. We're on low fuel. You can see on the bottom right there, the yellow icon. We need to try and save fuel at some point here. We're in lean mixtures. We go into sector 1 to try and save the fuel. Maybe if we lift and coast a tad, we can bring that fuel down, because we've only got a few laps left to make this fuel back down into working order. But now we're right up tucked behind the Italian Antonio Giovinazzi, who's been overtaken already by not only Van Dorn but also Hulkenberg. So his super soft tyres going off a tad, which is a little bit worrying, because Antonio, remember, pit after us, and he's on the same strategy. So if he's already falling away, I don't know what that means for the rest of this race. We've only got 5 laps left, and so that might be a little bit worrying. But we go down the inside with DRS open down the inside. Hulkenberg locks up though, so he could get another position pretty damn quick as we do get the move on the Italian. Now we'll try and overtake the German if we can as soon as possible to maybe try and close back up to the one and only Frenchman that we've had a tussle and a half with, and I need a few stern words with probably after this race, as now he's locking up a little bit and blocking his teammate Hulkenberg. We're going to dive down the inside of Nico, and we're going to be up into P6. No nonsense there. Open the steering wheel up, and now we're back here behind Pierre Gasly. And now let's try and overtake this guy, and let's try and make it count, as it looks like we might have a very interesting end to this race, because all of us are struggling now with tyre wear. Soft tyre, super soft tyre. I don't know if anyone's on ultras, but I'm sure they will be struggling a tad as well as we get towards the end of this race with 5 laps to go now. Down the inside, Gasly locks up on the left front, and that is going to be an easy move down the inside, and that is going to be a bit of pressure off my shoulders in P5. Van Dorn at the moment in P4. He's waltzed away in P4, and he's trying to chase after the leaders. And speaking of the leaders, we haven't seen much of them, but it's Pascal Wehrlein at the moment in P1, but not for too long, because here comes Carlos Sainz now to try and take the lead of the US Grand Prix. The Spaniard around the outside, he's got it there, and before they get to the apex, he's up into P1. Wehrlein in P2 now, and so as the leaders swap positions on the same lap, just a little further back, there's going to be some more swapping potentially, because here comes Pierre Gasly again to try and take P5 away from us. DRS wide open. We shove him a little bit towards the left-hand side. We're going to break a little bit early and work the switchback move to an absolute T here on the apex. He goes a little bit wide himself, and we're back up into P5. Meanwhile, behind, it looks like Hulkenberg is maintaining that position in P7 ahead of Antonio Giovinazzi. So Giovinazzi definitely lost some pace now for the rest of this race. And as we cut on back to the race lead, it's going to be Carlos Sainz and Wehrlein in. They're going to come in for a late pit stop with 3 laps to go. They've opted to come in. They're going to go from soft tyres to, I'm guessing, ultra softs for the last 3 laps of this Grand Prix. And that's going to mean in comes Jack Aitken to lead the US Grand Prix on a 1-stop he is today on soft tyres. Stoffel Van Dorn follows him behind on a 2-stop on super soft tyres. So Aitken and Van Dorn are a 1-2 in this Grand Prix, and that's going to move us up into 3rd place potentially. And now the situation is very interesting, because Sainz and Wehrlein will both be on ultra soft tyres compared to our worn super soft and soft, so it will probably be a good, at least 1.5 2 seconds faster once they get up to speed and the tyres heat up, as we just narrowly get out ahead of Sainz as well as Gasly there. And so this is going to be a bit of a weird situation for us as we go on to the end of this race. It's going to be Sainz there in the background, I think I can see, as we look behind us to try and overtake Gasly to the inside there. Will they try and make a move on us as well? Yes, they will. And we go 3 wide. We're in the middle, and I have to back out that little bit. I break early because that was such a dangerous position to be in, right in the middle of those 2 sandwiched there. And so we just about managed to survive that.
Okay, Arav, whatever Gasly does, do the same as him. I repeat, do the same as him. We're not sure how the tyres are going to hold up at the end, but we'd rather you cover him off just in case. If he does go on, you're going to the end of the race, mate. If he pits, you talk one and box immediately.
Right, so there you go. We've got a call from our engineer. We're going to play it safe and for the championship, and so that means covering off GASLY, whatever he does, and it's going to be into the pits. GASLY comes to the pits. We join him here, and we're going to cover him off. This may not be the best decision for the actual race result, but to cover him off for the championship's sake with 4 rounds to go, we're covering him off here. We're into the pit lane with GASLY, and both of us obviously going to strap on the set of ultra soft tyres, and so we'll see what happens towards the end of this race. Potentially 1 measly point is in it at the end of this race, but that's better than not covering off GASLY and then potentially ending up with a puncher right at the end and then getting no points on him, and with him with a couple. So let's see what goes on. We're down to P12, GASLY and P11, so we might not even be fighting for points. Let's just see, but I trust my engineer on that call in terms of playing for the championship. You've got to do these things sometimes rather than going with a gut feeling. Just play it safe and cover off your main rival, which of course for us is GASLY. Meanwhile though, up ahead for the race lead, this is Stoffel Vandoorne on the left hand side of Jack Aitken to make the move for the race lead. So unfortunately it looks like the Renault will not be getting first place. Jack Aitken down to second, and it's going to be quite spectacularly Stoffel Vandoorne into the lead of this Grand Prix. The Jaguars were struggling in qualifying, but they've made it work, or at least Stoffel has made it work with this amazing strategy, because Esteban Ocon is nowhere near him, but Vandoorne has made this work. His side of the garage has played this to an absolute T on the strategy there, and so he's leading the US Grand Prix. Meanwhile, with the rest of the field trying to just nurse their tyres to the end of this Grand Prix, with Sainz and Wehrlein trying to carve their way through back to a podium if they can, but I think Vandoorne and Aitken will have the top 2 spots, so really that 3rd spot is the only one that is up for grabs. Meanwhile though, we are now fighting with Pierre Gasly. Down the inside we go of him into turn 1. It's close stuff there. We shove him off the road a tad and squeeze him out, and we're up into P11. Hulkenberg is the one in P10, so the other Red Bull even thought to pit as well. And then this Grand Prix, as we move on to the last lap of the Grand Prix, the fighting is still going on. It's not even for anything but pride at this point. Down the inside we go, lock up on the left hand tire, and we're squeezing Gasly off circuit, but he's managed to find his way through with the elbows there and poke his nose in, and we're still on the outside. We're still trying to overtake him the best we can. Vandoorne crosses the line, it looks like, to win the USA Grand Prix. We do get back past Gasly, back up into P11, but here goes the moment through the last corner. Stoffel Vandoorne to win the US Grand Prix, his 2nd win of the season, would you believe? And he played that strategy to a T, but Jack Aitken a brilliant 2nd place there. We come across the line P11, Gasly P12, no points for the 2 main championship rivals today, but a thoroughly entertaining race there between myself and him, and the entire top 10, really, you know, a madness of a Grand Prix. And once again, USA chucking up a very insane surprise result, because from qualifying you really wouldn't have thought that would have been the top 2 there today, but yeah, wonderful stuff has gone on there for those 2. So what that means for the Drivers' World Championship, obviously the top 2 do not shift points or positions. Charles Leclerc also remains in P3, but now with 108 points there, still in the spearhead. He actually managed to just about find his way into the points on super soft tyres just to end that race, to actually make a bit of a comeback and a bit of a recovery drive for him after such a poor first stint. Carlos Sainz then jumps up into P4 with 95 points, now 2 points ahead of Antonio Giovinazzi. Wehrlein finally breaks the 90 mark there on the dot, and Stoffel Vandoorne moves up into 7th place now with 77 after that brilliant win. Jack Aitken for the first time is in the top 12 now in P9 with 54 points ahead of Nico Hulkenberg, Nico Kari, and the 5-time world champion Sebastian Vettel, so he'll be very happy with performances, and Renault will be especially happy because as we move on to the Constructors' Championship now, Renault are 64 points now to BMW Williams 34, and so actually now they're nearer to Monster Mercedes than they are to BMW Williams. So if Mercedes' upgrades for next race don't come in as they want, they could be a little bit under pressure there for P6, which would be very intriguing, surprising for sure. But looking at the top end of things, no changes in terms of positions there. Ferrari's still in 1st place with a nice cushion to Red Bull there, but Red Bull only 1 point now ahead of Jaguar, so Red Bull were hoping to maybe close up to Ferrari. Instead now it's Jaguar that are piling on the pressure for P2 potentially. Ourselves for Haas, we've actually been closed up to by Audi for 4th place, so we have to watch out down below as we try and also aim a little bit higher, but today's race just wasn't meant to be for us at least. But Wehrlein still tried to do the best job he could there, but now we've only got 3 rounds left, so it is very much crunch time in the championship. So I hope you guys have enjoyed the episode though. Nonetheless, smash the like button, let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new around here, then do get subscribed for weekly full-on content. I'll see you guys next time. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye.